Welcome back. Today in our Sunday Spotlight, a new weekly show focusing on some of the important happenings at the state capitol and beyond. Our own Kara Sundlun hosts Capitol Rundown on WFSB Plus and is joined by Republican Themis Klarides and Democrat Jimmy Tickey. All three join me today. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's a very exciting new show.
Yes. Thanks, Eric.
We love exciting stuff. So, Kara, let's start with you. Tell me about the new show. What is it? Why? Who wants to watch it? And where do you find it?
Well, it's on WFSB Plus, which is our free smart TV app where we can stream. And it's called the Capitol Rundown with our insiders. We've got, of course, on the Republican side, we have Themis. On the Democratic side, we have Jimmy. And it was really an effort to just digest all of the wild swings we're seeing in real time every week, often live. And as it's happening, we'll be live as the stock market is swinging this, and really getting a balanced perspective from both sides of the aisle. So it's all the politics that matter to people at home, and it's from both sides of the aisle, which I think is so needed right now, that we can just make sense of it and hear both sides.
And I think it's something, you know, people are so interested in it, and to have that insider perspective. And there's so much happening in the world right now, both here in Connecticut and around the globe, of course, and around the country. I want to ask you guys about a couple of the things that you'll be talking about. And Themis, I'm going to start with you. Right now, they're crafting a budget in the Capitol, but they're crafting a budget not really knowing a lot of the numbers, right? Because there's so much unknown about what's coming from Washington. Matt Ritter saying that it was a fiscal emergency. What's your take on how this will have to happen when, whatever your political ideology is, I think it's clear that there's unknowns?
Well, to my good friend Matt Ritter, he needs to take a deep breath, and I've told him this already. Budgets are always put together based on assumptions, right? But right now we have a lot of unknowns with this federal funding. And what Speaker Ritter and some of the other leaders are saying is we have to do this now, it's an emergency now. What the governor is saying, which I actually agree with, is we don't know actually how these cuts are going to play out in Connecticut. Let's figure that out first, then see what we have to do. The real problem with the Speaker and some of the other Democrats are they have been dying to cut the fiscal guardrails we have in the state since 2017, when Senator Fasano and I, as Republican leaders, pushed forth fiscal guardrails, things you have in your house, right? There's a spending cap. You call it, I can't spend more than I make. We have a bonding cap. You call it, I can't borrow more than I can afford to pay back, right? These are basic things that we all operate on, but government needs to operate on them more. One leader once told me when I said, how do you not support a spending cap? And he said, but then it would tie our hands. I go, that's exactly what people want. They want our hands tied. So since 2017, we have paid down over $8 billion to state pensions and teachers' retirement that were woefully underfunded for decades, one of the lowest funded in the entire country. And so my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, including Speaker Ritter and his colleagues, have been wanting to get rid of these guardrails for several years. They've been wanting to get rid of them basically since the day we put them in 2017. So you know that phrase, never let a good crisis go to waste. Now is a perfect excuse for them to say, oh, we have to get through to them. What I say is, take a deep breath. Let's see exactly what cuts affect Connecticut. And if we have to open those up, we should be looking at cutting programs and cutting things in the budget. There's a $55 billion budget for 2 years. You cannot open up guardrails without having cuts too.
Well, let's let Jimmy talk, because he's also on the, I'm just joking.
No, he's not allowed.
The words fiscal emergency are magic words, right? And there's a reason why Ritter used those words, because he was talking about these guardrails. There is uncertainty. The governor said he's going to have weekly press conferences to talk about all this. Do you agree with Themis on this, that maybe we should all take a deep breath, or do you think there's urgent need for action?
Well, look, see, this is why people should tune into the show, because we have so much to talk about. But I think you see what is happening every day in Washington, D.C., and you are seeing the real cuts that are happening to Connecticut. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are slashing the federal government in a way that is more than just efficiency. It's about $200 million here in Connecticut that's been cut for public health programs. It's been flood mitigation, science programs, environmental programs, programs that really make a difference for people whose communities are flooded or affected by watershed, cut, contracts canceled, food and nutrition programs in schools. And so the legislators are looking at this budget, and they're close to the budget. They're looking at the budget line by line, and they're beginning to see some problems with the amount of funding that is coming in from the federal government, which would not allow the state to carry on the programs that people really do depend on. And so I think legislators and the legislative leaders feel like we need to meet the moment and meet the needs of people today. You know, we have paid down over $8 billion in our pension debt, which is good, and we should meet those obligations as we go forward. This year alone, we might have a $1.6 billion surplus. We've had surpluses every year. Of that $1.6 billion, about half of it will go towards paying down the pension debt. The other half will go towards the rainy day fund. The rainy day fund is over $4 billion. So that really calls into question, what is the point of the rainy day fund? The rainy day fund is for when we have a rainy day, and we are now in this Trump storm. And I think the governor going out every week and explaining what's happening, what programs are cut, what is the real effect that it has on the budget and on Connecticut residents will make a difference as the legislature works in these coming weeks to develop a budget.
We're running out of time, so I don't want to go on long answers, but do you think, Themis, that there's going to be like some key moment in the budgeting process where you're going to say, aha, this is the path they're going?
Well, I think once the legislature and the governor figure out exactly what the cuts are, right, to my point, exactly what they are, then if you need to go to the rainy day fund, then figure out what waste is in government. Because it's like in your home. You have to prioritize the important things. If one person in the home loses a job, you have to prioritize. And that's what I think government needs to do, and they need to do it much better than they have.
And how about for you, Jimmy? Is there something you're watching particularly carefully, quickly?
I think it's how we are meeting the needs of people today. You know, billionaires don't have to worry about the prices increasing, but working families do, and Connecticut has an obligation to meet those needs.
Kara, 30 seconds left. I mean, from crossfire on to the, this idea of a Republican and a Democrat. This is a thing in journalism. How's it been hosting the show? Has it been fun?
I love it. I love these two because they have differing opinions, but they both come from the Valley. They're full of personality, and we're learning. I mean, I really want to make this accessible for people at home, so I feel like I'm asking the questions that all of you are asking at home, and these guys clearly have the answers.
I was going to say, no need for a lot of questions because they both can talk. Again, you can catch Kara, Jimmy, and Themis on Capitol Rundown. The show streams live each Wednesday on WFSB+. Be sure to check it out. That is CT 25 for this week. Of course, CBS Sunday Morning is coming up next. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll meet you back here in Studio A next Sunday morning.